Everybody knows Santa Claus is real. He lives up in the North Pole with 1,000 happy elves working hard making toys for me and all of the other good little boys and girls. So I don't know where you get the stuff about Dad being Santa Claus. It just doesn't... Hey!
Welcome to Checkered Childhood, a classic Cartoon Network podcast covering many, many years of Cartoon Network's history.
You're from Mars?
I'm funky. I'm fresh.
Hi, the Powerpuff Girls. Hi.
Not now, boy. I'm busy. Tonight's the third night.
Season's greetings, ToonHeads. It's your host, BDubs, and this is Checkered Childhood, a classic Cartoon Network podcast dedicated to covering the 15 formative years of this checkered channel. Today we're kicking back with a cup of hot cocoa while watching the roaring fire beside the Christmas tree to... Oh wait, no. Sorry, scratch that. We're actually bringing out the big guns in an all-out assault against Kris Kringle Criminal to defend our home Christmas Eve. Sound a bit harsh? Well, when you don't believe Santa Claus is real, one's thinking can drift into extremes, just like Dexter's did once he heard an unfamiliar fellow on his roof one snowy night. So, needless to say, we'll be looking at an episode review of Dexter's Lab, Dexter vs. Santa Claus, or Santa's Claus, to really understand what's going on here, and if it's worth remembering, or if we're better off burying it beneath a mound of reindeer turds. With that out of the way, buckle up, ToonHeads, because we're in for one bumpy Yuletide of a ride. So here's some basic episode info for you in case you're curious. This is from Season 2, Episode 37C of Dexter's Lab, which was paired with the other episodes, Dexter and Computress Get Mandark, and The Justice Friends Pain in the Mouth. The storyboard was by Kevin Collier and directed by Rumen Petkov and Gendy Tartakovsky. And here's the plot of the story for you. The episode opens with a snowy evening shot of the Dexter family household. Dee Dee has snuck into her brother's lab yet again, but not to wreak havoc. This time, she's typing her Christmas wish list for Santa Claus. I might add, considering how present-hungry most kids are this time of year, her list is quite modest.
P-O-N-Y! Yay! My Christmas list is all done!
Anywho, as she celebrates finishing her list for Santa, we pan up to Dexter banging on a surveillance screen demanding why Dee Dee is using his big, expensive scientific computer. She explains how she's preparing her list for Santa Claus once he visits their house, and Dexter immediately retaliates with a raspberry. Being the scientific-minded person he is, Dexter deconstructs Dee Dee's beliefs in a discussion where she is wasting her time and electricity on such foolishness. Dee Dee couldn't care less, though, and counters how, if the presents are under the tree every morning, doesn't he exist? And this is where things get a little, shall I say, interesting. Rather than simply tell her reasons why Santa doesn't exist, Dexter raps about how the holiday is just an elaborate cover-up planned by their parents. Rather than try to explain it for you, let me just read the lyrics of Dexter's rap to give you a better idea of what's going on.
Word!
And I quote, "Dad dresses up in a Santa getup, and then he puts the car up on the rooftop. He makes the car look like a sleigh, dear, and then Mom dresses up as a reindeer. She greases up Dad so he slides down the chimney and put all the presents around the tree, and Mom pulls him up, and by, they slide down the roof and into the sky. You go to the window because you heard a little sound and see Santa fly before they all hit the ground." Was this a rap concert? Dexter should stick to science and not music.
Yeah! Oh,
All right, knock it off! Give me that!
My microphone.
Dee Dee then proceeds to steal Dexter's mic and explain he doesn't have his story straight. Through her eyes, there are thousands of happy little elves at the North Pole making toys for good little girls and boys like her. And, like most arguments with no clear winner, Dexter decides to simply trigger a metal dividing wall between him and his sister while she trails off insisting her perspective is the correct one, which seems rather relevant today, wouldn't you say? Dexter then schemes to prove his theory of Christmas being a hoax as correct as he walks off into the endless abyss that is his lab. Later that night, he witnesses a cozy view of their empty living room. The tree is all decked out, the snow is covering bushes outside the sliding door, and we see 4 stockings nestled on the fireplace hearth. Well, it's actually 2 red stockings, one of Dexter's black leather boots and Dee Dee's pink pantyhose. Fitting, I suppose. Dexter is dozing off watching his security cameras for any sight of the red suit assailant, and just when he lowers his eyes, alarm sound. Sure enough, reindeer and sleigh pull up to a snow-covered chimney. Dexter grins and sets his plan in motion. We cut to the living room where Santa decides to enter via magical snowy whirlwind and says his trademark catchphrase. Just as Santa approaches the tree to deliver presents to the family, spouting nothing but ho-ho-hos, I might add, Dexter pops up out of the portal near the TV to declare to Dad, quote-unquote, that he's been caught red-handed. Santa doesn't know what he's talking about and is perplexed by the accusation. Dexter pulls out a camera to take pictures of quote-unquote Dad Santa to prove Dee Dee's beliefs about Christmas are immature. But Santa shuts him down quick by snatching the device and tossing it off-screen, effectively breaking it.
What? Hey!
Ho 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 ho!
Hey!
Ho 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 ho!
In Santa's mumble speak, he gestures to Dexter to run along back to bed so he can finish his job and be on his merry way. While any normal 7 or 8-year-old child would be starry-eyed and kind to Santa and obey his wishes, Dexter instead runs back and tackles Kris Kringle to the ground, tugging his mustache with full force in an effort to remove his fake beard, quote-unquote. Santa throws Dexter off his back, then teleports to the roof to stash his bag of gifts. But Dexter isn't quite done with him yet. Dexter then pops out of a stovepipe on the roof just like a jack-in-the-box to greet Santa menacingly with an electric razor. Just then, one of Santa's reindeer jumps in front of Dexter to defend its master. But Dexter insists the animal is his mom and explains to her how he figured out how to shave a long time ago and that he won't be a boy forever. Just when he's cornered by the reindeer, Dexter grabs onto its horns and snaps them clean off to defend himself. The reindeer whimpers with a cry, prompting an irritated Santa to grab Dexter and shove him snugly into the top of the chimney. Santa rides off into the night echoing his jolly ho-ho-hoing, while Dexter sits there astonished. And while it may seem things are going back to normal for Christmas Eve after all that, Dexter is still not finished harassing his target. In a surprising move, Dexter shouts the command, "Extreme Science!" which launches the chimney he's stuck in into the sky, effectively transforming it into a brick-brown, high-tech fighter jet. Dexter is determined to be right. With the sudden absence of the chimney, Dee Dee heads to her window thinking closing it will get rid of the freezing draft that was left behind from the chimney exiting. To her delight, Santa jingles all the way past her sight, but then is quickly angered after she spots Dexter in hot pursuit of the holiday legend.
Ho 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 ho!
Hi, Santa!
Come back here, Dexter!
Dexter then launches a missile at Santa to shoot him down to prove his theory, quote-unquote. In an effort to thwart Dexter's hostile pursuit, Santa throws a bag of his presents at the missile, exploding it mere feet from behind the sleigh. Dee Dee watches the aerial dogfight from her window, complaining, "Those better not be my presents," as she shakes her fist. Dexter shoots Santa's sleigh down with a barrage of red laser blasts, causing the sleigh to spiral into the Dexter family household and crash right into the living room.
Oh!
Dexter then enters for the kill, shaving off Santa's beard with malicious glee, only to be interrupted by his real father asking just what the heck is going on. Dexter realizes the grave error that he's made as a dazed Santa stands up without a beard and barely a tuft of hair left on his head. Mom sobs at the sight of their ravaged, burnt Christmas tree, while Dee Dee demands where her presents are still. The whole family corners Dexter with massive disappointment. Dexter apologizes that he ruined Christmas again. Apparently this wasn't his first time. And tries to convince the family that this time of year is all about family togetherness and happiness and doing kind things and decorating. But then Santa just interjects that the holiday is really about the presents. Dexter stares at the audience shocked, while Santa winks and shoves in one more ho 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 for the heck of it. And all that being said, that is the end of our episode. What a ride.
Ho ho ho!
So before I go into my Toon ratings, why this episode matters, here's a little trivia and observations that I picked up on along the way. I noticed that Dee Dee walking away from the computer to reveal Dexter talking into a camera behind the curtain is in fact a reference to the 1939 classic film, The Wizard of Oz. Except this time, the Emerald City is a blue laboratory. But more or less the same concept. Also, I noticed that the reindeer appearing with Santa's sleigh is a bit inconsistent throughout the episode. Sometimes there are one or two missing, while others, it's just one in some shots. The only time we actually see all 8 of Santa's reindeer is when Dee Dee sees Santa passing by her window, while Dexter chases after him in the fighter jet. Do you think there's a deeper meaning here? That maybe she could see all the reindeer because she believes in Santa? I wonder. I should note also that this was the only Christmas special released for the show, though Dexter would later appear in a very Cartoon Fridays holiday special around 2004-2005, alongside co-host Johnny Bravo and Eustace Bagg parroting such classics as A Christmas Story. According to creator Genndy Tartakovsky, the harsher tone of this episode was intentional, meant to contrast the overwhelmingly lighthearted abundance of feel-good Christmas movies and TV specials, to show that not everyone shares the same view about the Christian-based holiday. The only words Santa utters in this special besides ho 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 are the presents at the very end. Also, I noticed that when Dee Dee takes away Dexter's mic after rapping, somehow it's completely gone in the next shot. Where did it go? And why doesn't she use it? Another fun trivia fact is that while Dexter shot down this quote-unquote imposter Santa sleigh, it is very reminiscent of when Jack Skellington met a similar fate for a similar accusation in 1993's The Nightmare Before Christmas, just 5 years before this episode aired in 1998. Except, in that case, the government believed he was causing harm, not proving a theory that his parents were in on the holiday scheme. You might have noticed, too, that at the very beginning of the episode, Dee Dee has a rather short Christmas list. I mean, she makes a big deal about wanting presents, but really, according to what we see, she just wants new Barbie dolls and a pony. And as far as I could tell, I don't think a pony was in Santa's sleigh. So sorry, Dee Dee. I don't think you're going to get what you want. And then lastly, I did notice, too, that Dee Dee telling Dexter, quote, "You blockhead, that's not what Christmas is all about," is in reference to the classic 1965 TV special, A Charlie Brown Christmas. So what was my review of Dexter versus Santa's Claus? I don't take this lightly, but I'm going to give this just 1 out of 10 tunes. This was a catastrophic episode of not just Dexter's Lab, but of any Christmas special out there. And I'm even lumping in the low-standard Home Alone movies past the Lost in New York sequel, and dozens of recycled holiday Hallmark trash that won't die a dignified death. I mean, the pacing in this 7-minute massacre feels extremely rushed. The arguments on both sides of Santa's existence are flimsy at best. Dexter's theory in rap form is just plain cringy and dissonant, and his arrogance drowns out any semblance of his scientific rationality just to stroke his own ego. There is no redeeming qualities here. It's just very irritating to watch the entire thing play out when you know clearly that he is in the wrong for attacking the real Santa. I mean, just think about it. Dexter is willing to murder his dad only to prove a point that he's right about a theory that Santa Claus doesn't exist, after he's like clearly flying in the air for several moments instead of like falling onto the ground and then pursuing him on the road. Just doesn't add up. Or even the fact that his mom stands on 4 legs and has brown fur and is clearly not a human. Come on, Dexter, you can do better than this. There are simply too many plot holes in here to get through the episode feeling good at all. As such, I hated this episode back when I was a kid, and sadly even more now, 3 decades later as a grown-ass adult who appreciates the craft of animation. The story of this episode just feels like a mean-spirited attack on Christmas from start to finish, with no real meaningful message behind it. Even if the episode itself was originally intended to be satire of, Christmas specials being overtly positive. I feel like if South Park tackled this plot, it would fare far better because they're used to handling such egregious behavior with satire and tactfulness, especially channeling it through a main character like Eric Cartman, not our normally lovable boy genius who was clearly the villain of this story. Look, I get how a holiday meant to bring family together during cold, harsh months of the year has warped and mutated into a consumer's free-for-all over the past few decades just to prove our love to each other by how lavish our gifts can be. But to take this particular approach as a response to the holiday insanity now associated with Christmas is callous. Why make Dexter so unlikable towards his family, Santa, and the audience if he's just going to give a pathetic, half-hearted excuse for an apology for causing real property damage in the episode, while also tarnishing a long-standing folklore tradition to help people endure the harsh winter months each year? And with animal cruelty thrown in for good measure, thanks but no thanks. Bury this lump of coal 10 feet under Russia's war-torn tundra and let us never speak of it again. I would give this episode a rating of 0 out of 10, but the only good thing about it was that I kind of like the pun of the episode title because it's a little unconventional and put it on its head. I mean, Santa's claws, yeah, we're going to get lots of nasty behavior here. And it warned us before we entered it, so I got to give it something for that. Glad that's off my chest. On a much lighter note, to those who do value spending time with friends, family, and loved ones during the holidays, I'm on your side. May you make cheerful memories with each other, eat home-cooked delicious food, and cozy up by the fireplace with a warm cup of hot cocoa and marshmallows. I know I will, because that is the true spirit of Christmas. So why does Dexter versus Santa's claws matter? It doesn't, but work with me here. I got a good point. I won't retread my scathing remarks left in the Toon Rating previously for this section, but I will mention that Dexter versus Santa's claws is a prime example of how not to do a Christmas special. And that matters as a point of reference to steer away from all you animators and cartoon lovers out there. As hokey and overly joyful many Christmas specials tend to be, their formulaic cheer isn't a bad thing if it's done right. In fact, many of them live in the center of nuance, where characters like the Grinch learn to open their hearts and minds to cheer people up that they happen to have wronged just before that. Or breaking boundaries where a dog can help Santa instead of Rudolph, like in Olive the Other Reindeer. Even in darker Christmas specials like Nickelodeon Doug's Christmas Story, it starts out harsh with, the court against Porkchop accusing him of attacking BB for fear that he'll be put down, but it somehow turns itself around and proves that he was a hero all along. And as long as there is a little bit of lightness to balance the darkness, that's okay. It's even acceptable and enjoyable if you learn to love it and see the whole point behind the thing. So it's not to say that there can't be a Christmas special that successfully deviates from the norm, but it has to be done well and match the audience's expectations to make their point clear without burning up any goodwill along the way. For other examples to watch this holiday season in the spirit of remembering classic Cartoon Network, I recommend Courage the Cowardly Dog's rendition of The Nutcracker. Both Johnny Bravo Christmas specials. One of them's called 'Twas the Night from season 1, and the later one is just called the Johnny Bravo Christmas Special. There's Kids Next Door's Operation Naughty, or Powerpuff Girls' 'Twas the Fight Before Christmas. I would say all of them have a better spin on the formula than this one, so check those out when you have time, even with family or friends too. If you'd like another perspective on this episode that I have reviewed today, YouTuber The Mysterious Mr. Enter does a great, concise, and a bit humorous job of covering this animated atrocity as well. IMDb reviews also share the same sentiment, so I know I'm not the only one when we see this as something less desirable in the Dexter's Lab universe. So check it out and form your own opinion too. So here's our closing for today's episode. If you like this episode or any other episode of the podcast you've listened to, please share your thoughts with me in an email at checkerchildhood@gmail.com. Or you can simply chime in the comments of the YouTube version of this podcast episode. Whether your feedback is good, bad, or just a little bit strange, I love hearing from all you listeners to get your take on Classic Cartoon Network. While you're at it, feel free to rate and review this podcast on Spotify or wherever else you listen to your podcasts. If you happen to, I'll be more than glad to share a review with our fellow listeners in a future episode. We're all about sharing the waves of nostalgia here. And with that, happy holidays, ToonHeads. Hopefully, despite the nature of this episode, you took something valuable away from the analysis of this Christmas catastrophe and do a little something kind for yourself and others this season. Until the next one, I've been your holly jolly host, BDubs. Stay warm, and I'll check you later with another rousing animated episode of Checkered Childhood. And to all, a good night.
That's not what Christmas is about.
It's not? Then what is it about?
The presents.